Welcome back, and we're now going into lesson number 2. And as I said before, the Rich Dad compass is academic education, the professional education, and there's financial education. And then, so lesson number 2, like I said, there's poor values, middle class values, and rich values. And my poor dad always said, be a good, hardworking man, right, or person. And my rich dad would laugh, he says, because people all said about my dad, he's a good, hardworking guy. And my rich dad would just laugh. So I asked him why he laughed. He says, well, number one reason is the rich do not work for money. He says, it's hard to get rich working hard for money. And that's this lesson right now with the sacred cow of working hard. And as you guys know, our school is not having financial education. A lot of us don't understand how the rich make money and pay no tax. Does that make sense, you guys here? And tax is when it is your single largest expense over your lifetime, more than your house, more than your car, more than gasoline, more than food. It is tax. So it's important to understand why hard work is taxed so hard. So part of your financial IQ is there's 3 types of income. There's earned, portfolio, and passive. So financial IQ is understanding the definition of these words here. So when you hear people say, the politicians say we're going to tax the rich, who they're really talking about are people who are high income people. They have income, W-2, doctors, lawyers, accountants. That's who they're after. They're not after the rich. So when they say we're going to tax the rich, they're generally saying we're going to tax the hard working people who make a lot of money. That's really the true fact of it. Portfolio income is oftentimes, this is what flippers go. When somebody buys a house and flips it, or somebody buys a stock low and sells it, they're working for a portfolio, and the approximate, and these numbers vary from country to country, but this is about 20% tax. I estimate this to be about 50%, all the hidden taxes. And somebody said, well, I pay state and local and all this stuff and federal, but you also have Social Security tax and hidden taxes and all this. So if I'm going to make $1 million as a worker, I really am only making $500,000. If I'm making $100,000, I'm only making $50,000. But if I am an investor in this area here, I can pay a lot less tax. And the thing I love about passive income is generally income from cash flow from real estate, positive cash flow. If I know what I'm doing, I can pay 0 tax legally. My rich dad said, stay above the law because you don't want to go to jail and become somebody's boyfriend. So just stay what you can. So pay your taxes. I got the picture, Dad. So I work primarily for passive, and passive income is other people's money or my money or other people working for me. There's a very big difference in that. Okay, so those are the 3 types of income here, and when you look at the 3 types of people also, let me go back one step before we go on. This here is a cash flow quadrant, and it's a book I have right here. I think it was book number 2 after Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I think this is the most important book for people looking to make changes in their life. If you haven't read it, I'll explain it really quickly. The quadrant stands for the 4 people that make up the world of business. There's E, S, B, and I. And E stands for employee, S stands for self-employed or small business. This could be a doctor or a guy who owns a little pizza shop or something like this. B stands for big business. Big business is defined as 500 or more employees. Okay? And I stands for investor. So our school system, when you look at academic and professional education, our school systems are targeting people for here. And this was my poor dad. I always said, get here. My mother was a nurse, so she wanted to become a doctor. And I said to my mom, because doctors make a lot of money back then. Not they don't do it today. Back then made a lot of money. And I said, well, one thing, Mom, doctors are smart. She says, you got a good point there. You probably shouldn't be a doctor. So S also stands for specialists, smart people, stuff like that. Day traders are S's. Real estate flippers are S's and things like this. But a business owner and investor are different, and that's why my poor dad basically said to me, and he says, Robert, you're not very smart, are you? I said, no. He says, you're basically incompetent. I said, yes. And you're lazy. I said, yes. He says, good, you'll do really well in business then, you know? Because as a business owner, I'm operating on other people's time. That's why I have a team of people around me. I hire very smart people, accountants, attorneys, great, best doctors, real estate guys. I want the smartest people around me because I'm not that smart, and I really don't want to study that much. You know, so I have smart people, good advice, and all that. My rich dad did that all the time. Whereas an S will say, if you want it done right, do it yourself. You know, you can't trust anybody. S's don't trust. They're very suspicious. Oftentimes they're selfish also, because, you know, time is money for them. It's a very different mentality. So the power of this book here, the cash flow quadrant, is it basically explains the different types of people there are in the world. Employees will always use the same words, whether they're the president or CEO of a company or the janitor. They're looking for a nice, safe, secure job, steady paycheck, and security. These guys want security. These guys don't trust anybody. That's the difference here. Business owners have to have good advisors around them. And investor is that generally I want to use OPM. The reason I don't like real estate so much is that my banker will give me as much money as I want. And the reason, again, I'll go into this, why is that so important to use your banker's money? Taxes. You see, if I want to buy $1 million property, let's say, I borrow $800,000 of it. That $800,000 is tax-free money. Now, the people who want to pay off their debt and want to pay cash, that $800,000, when you look at this here, high-income people, these people here, 800,000 is really 1.6 million. Does that make sense, you guys here? Because they have to earn twice as much. So I don't really understand that mentality. I'd rather borrow money at 6% and make 20% tax-free and all that. So it's just a different mindset. So please read the book and understand that the mindsets are different. So I was trained over here, and most people are trained over here. 90% of the people who are trained here, 10% are trained here. You know, some of the people who are very good business entrepreneurs are like Michael Dell, Stephen Jobs, you know, Dell Computer, Jobs of Apple, and who's Microsoft? Bill Gates. All of them dropped out of school, you noticed. They're not college graduates. Richard Branson and Virgin, not college graduates. Because over here, they didn't want to be trained to be over here, they want to be trained over here. And it's a very different mindset. So, look at all this here, moving on, is that, oh, I didn't finish this here. This is the way that taxes went. In 1943, the U.S. government started taxing these people. So what's wrong with being an employee? When you say to a person, be a good, hardworking person, or get a safe, secure job, oh, I can't wait to get a job, is that you're operating in the highest taxed possible. Does that make sense to you guys here? This is highest tax. So when you say to a kid, get a job, you're actually making them a tax mule, you know, this beast of burden, to pay for the taxes of these guys here. It doesn't make any sense to me personally. It's not financially intelligent. So that was in 1943. It was called the Current Tax Payment Act. Then in 1986, there was the Tax Reform Act of 1986. What they did was they taxed these guys, the doctors, the lawyers, accountants. Anybody who's a licensed professional, they were taxed. They could not participate in the same tax breaks these guys pay here. So the reason you need financial IQ is to be on this side over here. You need a high financial education to be on this side. Even people who invest in mutual funds over here, mutual funds are the highest tax, even in a 401k. You study it, you go, why would you do that? It doesn't make sense to me because you have to pay the tax coming out. So what they say to you over here is, you know, put your money in a 401k, we'll match the funds and all this. You know, find out by lesson 10, well, that's not a good idea. But anyway, put it in over here, and when they say when you retire, you can pull this income out at a lower tax rate because your income will be lower. In other words, the whole financial planning industry is preparing you to believe that when you retire at 64, 65, 66, whatever it is, you'll be less income. So I don't have a 401k because my income keeps going up. Does that kind of make sense, you guys? So it depends if you're planning to be rich, poor, or middle class. I plan on being richer and richer and richer, so I don't need a 401k. Money comes in automatically. So those are some of the big differences here. And that's why to say to your child, be a hardworking man or be a hardworking woman, you're going to be taxed to death here. Also in America, there's a thing called an AMT, and the AMT came out around 1970 approximately. And what that does here, they're again going after taxing the rich. But what happened is because income kept going up, today if you're making about $65,000 a year or more, you're paying an alternative minimum tax. So you're being, so employees and these guys are being taxed double now. So the moment you go past $65,000, you're giving even more to the government. And so it doesn't make sense to me to say to your child, go to school, get a safe, secure job, and earn a lot of money. Because you're just going to give it to the government. I would rather have a higher financial IQ and operate over here, okay? So in closing, on this lesson here, there's three basic people in the world of money, three classes. There's a working class, the intellectual class, and a capitalist class, okay? The working class and these guys, an intellectual class, they're like doctors, lawyers, school teachers, you know, where they're basically paid for their knowledge. These people, it's sort of a blend here. These people generally get paid for their hard physical work. But generally, most people, like a teacher, is working partly here and partly here. Same as a doctor working partly here and partly here. These are the people at the highest tax. The Rich Dad Company, and the reason we have the cash flow clubs in this game, is to get people in the capitalist class. And the capitalist class have other people working for them and other people's money working for them. That's the difference. And to do this, you need higher financial IQ. So a lot decision when you talk to your children, or you talk to yourself, you're saying, which do I want to be? Am I a working class person? Am I an intellectual class person, like a teacher or a doctor, an attorney, an accountant? Or do I want to be a capitalist class? And the capitalist class are on this side. This is the working class and the intellectual class. Most of these guys are intellectual class people. Does that make sense, you guys here? And they're taxed the highest, 1986, 1943, 1970. Please take a moment, discuss this, learn what you can from it, and then play the game and discuss yourself after the game again. Thank you very much.